afternoon and welcome to this webinar on the key to success on the FIFA Agent Exam in 2024, after the global partial suspensions of the FFAR organized by Johan Cruyff Institute in partnership with Loughborough University. As you may know, FIFA's recent global suspension of certain provisions of its football agent regulations has implication for the football agent examination. Today we have the opportunity to chat again with Dr. Serhat Yilmaz. He will delve into the implication of these suspensions on the upcoming FIFA football agent examination. Dr. Serhat Yilmaz is Senior Lecturer in Sports Law at Loughborough University and Academic Director of Sport Agents Education. Before we begin, I would like to remind you that you can ask as many questions as you like, typing them in the question tab you can see in the bottom right of your screen. And in case you cannot follow the whole session, you will receive the recording afterwards. And now I leave you with Serhat.
Okay, well, welcome everyone, and thanks for the introduction from Christina at Johan Cruyff Institute. First of all, it's my pleasure to connect with all of you via this webinar. And really the idea, just to offer a bit of context, and I'm going to expand on sort of this global partial suspension of FIFA football agent regulations. And the idea behind the webinar is really to dive into, first of all, understand this global suspension of the FIFA, and then obviously analyze its impact on the exams in 2024, particularly this one coming up in May 2024. And we have been receiving a number of questions concerning the situation really and how it's going to impact on the exam. And in order to therefore support you with your preparations and also for your strategy on the exam, we are running this webinar. So let me quickly share my slides that I put together that I want to run through with you. And as I said, sort of the structure we would like to follow. First of all, I'm going to talk about this global partial suspension of the FIFA and the background, what provisions are affected, so on and so forth. And then once I create that context for you so that you understand what we are referring to here in terms of global partial suspension of the regulations, then we can start analyzing and talking about the potential impact on the FIFA Agent Exam in 2024. And then finally, I will wrap up with some of my thoughts and considerations with respect to your exam strategy and the areas that you need to take into account, I think, in terms of, from my perspective, in terms of preparing yourself for the upcoming exams. And then finally, we've got a Q&A session. So I anticipate that I'll spend about 20 to 25 minutes presenting, and then I can take your questions too. As Christina outlined in her video, please put your questions into the Q&A tab of the platform so that once we get to that part of the session, I can take them one by one and answer them for you. Okay, so let's make a start therefore. In terms of background, okay, I think this is important to appreciate. As you know, as of 1st of October 2023, last year, FIFA fully implemented these regulations, the new regulations for football agents in the world of football. These regulations, called FIFA Football Agent Regulations, has got provisions which were contentious. So particularly the agent industry, as you may have followed, literally argue against these regulations and then also start taking legal actions. Okay, And then basically what happened before even these regulations come into fully force back in October 2023, that there were already existing cases against these regulations. And one of the fundamental case was in Germany, where there was a decision back in May 2023. And this was an interim decision where basically the German local court issued an injunction against the implementation of the regulations. Then we've got a number of other challenges in different parts of Europe and globally. And we know, for instance, in England, the challenge against these regulations before the FA's private tribunal was won by the group of agencies that brought that challenge. But we also then had discussed decision that was in the favor of FIFA. So therefore, basically, actually, as a background, what led to the suspension or partial suspension of the FIFA is those successful legal challenges, and particularly that one in Germany. Okay? And then basically, when we get to December 2023, towards the end of it, on 30th of December 2023, FIFA issued this circular no 1873, and in that circular, FIFA explained that due to the implications of this junction from Germany on specific provisions of the FIFA football agent regulations, FIFA felt that it was necessary to partially suspend at global level application of these provisions that are affected by the injunction. And that's what we mean by this global partial suspension of the FIFA. So basically, some of those provisions, the German court said they might be anti-competitive, and under the European competition law, therefore this case now referred to the European court. While that case is pending, therefore, due to this injunction, there's a global partial suspension. Now, this is where we are, and this was, as I said, as of 30th of December 2023. Despite FIFA fully coming onto force on 1st of October 2023, as of 30th of December 2023, there is this global partial suspension. And as you can see, in that particular circular, FIFA also outlined those provisions of the FIFA that are suspended. Now, let's have a look at those. And again, I put this together just to offer us context and also start visualizing what provisions are affected by this suspension and what particular aspects, so that we can make sense of this global partial suspension on FIFA further. So what we know, for instance, basically there are 9 provisions or 9 articles that are affected by the injunction and globally suspended. Now, and when we look at the circular more specifically, for instance, it identifies the specific paragraphs of the specific provisions, these 9 provisions that are affected. So, for instance, for Article 13, which is about national football agent regulations, under which FIFA requires also national member associations to implement their own regulations in line with the FIFA football agent regulations, that particular provision and its paragraph 2C and 2D is currently suspended. So it's partially affected, that article. And Article 4, for instance, paragraph 2 under Article 4 is suspended. Article 12, the paragraphs 8, 9, and 10 is partially suspended. Article 14 is one of the key articles that is significantly impacted because there are a number of paragraphs there, as you can see, 2, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, and 13 are all suspended. Article 15 as a whole is suspended. Article 16, paragraph 2 and subsection B, H, J, K, as well as paragraph 4 are suspended. Article 19, Article 20, and Article 21 as a whole are suspended. Now, so these are the sort of provisions, regulatory provisions that are partially suspended. But when we look at the circular and sort of try to appreciate and understand the extent of this suspension with respect to this new regulatory framework that is created under this new FIFA football agent regulations by FIFA, actually, they are some of the key substantial regulatory provisions. So particularly those provisions around representation arrangements, service fee provisions, service fee cap, and as well as agents' reporting obligations are significantly impacted and currently suspended. And then, for instance, the whole disclosure rights of FIFA concerning agent-related information is fully suspended under Article 19, as well as the whole FIFA jurisdiction and also the enforcement of the regulations under Article 21 as a whole is currently suspended. So the point I'm trying to make here is that I think for us it's important to appreciate those provisions that are suspended currently for the purposes of the exam, but also understand that actually, in essence, this partial suspension is quite actually significant in terms of operation of the regulatory regime. And I think we need to understand the implications of it so that, you know, when you are studying these regulations, those provisions of the regulations that are currently enforced, not affected by the injunction and the suspension by FIFA, therefore sort of you can appreciate the impact and you can make sense of actually what key aspects are currently not applicable versus what are currently that are in place and enforced under this new FIFA football agent regulations. Now, so this is basically just the background and as I said, understanding this global partial suspension and what it means. Now, where we see the impact on the exam, basically, then what happened in the or what we find under the FIFA study materials January 2024 edition is this information under the introduction section of the document, which is published by FIFA for the particularly based on the study materials for the upcoming May exam, May 2024 exam. Actually, the introduction, that specific part reads, please note that the exam will not be based on the suspended provisions of the FUFAR as per FIFA Circular No. 1873. So therefore, now what we know or how we interpret this information, this text we find under the FIFA study materials documents of the January 2024 edition is that these suspended provisions will not be examined during the May 2024 exam. This is what we understand from this text within the FIFA study materials. So this is the first impact on the exam. Basically, the suspension is heavy. So basically, FIFA makes a decision that those provisions, because they are not currently implemented and applicable, therefore the exam in FIFA's term shouldn't be assessing candidates' knowledge and understanding of those provisions. This is how I am interpreting this information. Okay, so this is first impact, and it's quite important for the purposes of the exam. Now, therefore, then we can now start thinking about what you may expect in the exams in 2024. The reason also, let me add this, I make reference to 2024 because what we know that in 2024, we are going to have two exams. One in May, which is upcoming on 22nd of May 2024, and then one in November 2024. So we also anticipate that the legal dispute may not resolve during 2024. Therefore, I'm referring to, the potential impact on the exams in 2024. What we know now, May 2024 exam is already impacted because we have that in the study materials for the May 2024 exam. And I think November 2024 exam is likely to be impacted as well. So, therefore, what can you expect? What to expect on FIFA in the exam in 2024? So, as I said, basically 9 key provisions. This is quite important for me. 9 key provisions of the FIFA, as I outlined in previous slide, that are now directly impacted by the suspension, and therefore we do not expect any direct questions on them in the exam. This is what we know. But then I've been also reflecting on this, suspension and effect on the FIFA. What we need to be mindful that also there are still, those regulatory areas, they are not affected by the global suspension. Hence, they are already in force. And within those areas, actually, we've got some important provisions. Okay, so you need to be mindful of that, and I think you must understand them well. For instance, the whole section 2 of the FIFA, with exception of Article 4, is actually about becoming a football agent is unaffected. We know that agents still, or those candidates who wants to obtain the license, they still need to go through the licensing process. There is still requirements around concerning fulfillment of eligibility requirements, and once a candidate obtains the license, there's still that ongoing obligations of compliance with the licensing requirements. So it's there, and it's an important area of the new regulatory regime. Representation agreements seems to be partially impacted, but with respect to those provisions around representation agreements, particularly Article 12. But with respect to those provisions, with respect to duration of the representation agreements, minimum requirements of the representation of agreements are not affected. So therefore, we have got, those important provisions concerning representation agreements are still in force. Okay, service fee provisions. That's an area is significantly impacted under Article 14 and 15, but there are those sub-paragraphs of Article 14 is still in force. Okay, I think this is an important area as well. for instance, payments on behalf of players by clubs, agent entitlement to the service fees, all those provisions, which are quite important, are still in force. One of the other area that is untouched and unaffected is representation of minors. And we know that under Article 13, FIFA created this new regulatory regime for the representation of minors by agents, and there's an authorization requirements there. FIFA introduced this age restriction and as well as prerequisites for approaching minors. So therefore, that is an important regulatory area, I think, to understand. And then the other area is very unaffected at all is the rights and obligations of the clients of agents, particularly the rights and obligations of the players and the clubs. So therefore, to me, I think these are the areas that are unaffected. Yes, we need to appreciate and understand what provisions are suspended, but I think for the purposes of the exam, it's important to understand now what is remaining as a regulatory text and enforce under the FUFAR. And hence, therefore, we should expect questions on those provisions in the exam. Now, then I think so. Thinking about this, like what to expect in the exams in 2024, what we are seeing, what I try to outline there, potentially the reduced regulatory content of the FUFAR, right? Because some of those suspended provisions, or all of those suspended provisions, are not basically examined, while obviously those provisions that are currently in force, not affected by the FIFA circular, are actually might be examined. So we might see questions on them. Therefore, for me, the next thing we need to think about, how then this reduced content of FUFAR for the purpose of the exam is gonna impact on the distribution of the 20 exam questions. Okay, and what I mean by distribution here is that what we know that, as you know, the exam is based on 20 questions, and those questions are distributed based on these study materials that we see under the chapter 1 of the FIFA study materials documents. And when we consider the 2020 exams, I took the April 2023 exams, and some of our delegates on our FIFA training course on the FIFA agent examination that we run in collaboration with Johan Cruyff Institute at Loughborough University, is that who took the September 2023 exam. What we know as a general understanding of the distribution of the 20 exam question is that FIFA football agent regulations and the FIFA regulations on the status and the transfer of players are actually two key study materials. They were the two key study materials for the exam in 2023. And then there are all those other materials, what I refer as the other materials, those other regulations from FIFA, such as FIFA statutes, FIFA disciplinary code, FIFA ethics code, FIFA clearinghouse regulations, as well as the safeguarding materials, what I refer as other materials. We've got also questions on them, but majority of the questions were from FUFAR and the FIFA RSTP. And I try to, as on the slide, as a sort of guideline, I try to outline the number of questions that we from my experience, as well as from from some of our delegates, like number of questions we have seen in this core from exam questions based on these core materials. So basically, in my exam, there were about 7 questions on FIFA, then similar number of questions on the FIFA RSTP, which in my view we can expect. And this is what we have seen in the 2023 exam. About 60 to 70% of the questions were on these 2 key materials, and then the remaining questions were on the other materials. Okay, so this is our general understanding from the exams in 2023. Then now we need to think about, as I said, how then this distribution might be impacted by the reduced content of the FIFA. And I think, and this is just my projection and as a sort of help to those candidates, just to portray my thinking on this, but I think we are going to see less questions on the FIFA on the exam because of the reduced content due to those suspended provisions being not examined. And therefore then I anticipate that potentially we might see some of the questions that were historically allocated to the FIFA actually to be based on some of the other materials. Okay, so therefore what I anticipate you will have some questions on the FIFA, but I think the number of those questions will be reduced. I anticipate therefore between 3 to 5 exam questions on the FIFA, particularly on those key regulatory areas and provisions that are not currently affected. But then we might start thinking also about what are the materials are important, like where we might see those questions, reduced questions from the FIFA might be allocated or distributed, okay? And I think for me, it's one of the key regulation is and it has been always is the FIFA regulations on the status and transfer of players. So therefore, we are likely to have 1 or 2 questions, maybe more questions on the exam on the FIFA RSTP. And then perhaps we will see more on the other materials as well. And I think for me, within the other materials, the key areas to focus on is the FIFA guardians, because what we know from FIFA that, and due to this new regulatory regime around the protection of minors under Article 13, under the FIFA, which is unaffected, FIFA actually really wants agents to understand safeguarding. Okay, so therefore, for me, we might see more questions on the FIFA guardians materials, safeguarding materials. FIFA clearinghouse regulations, I think, is another important one, because although currently is not operationalized, what we know that eventually FIFA wants the agents' fees to go through FIFA clearinghouse. Therefore, I think agents need to get their head around understanding the concept of clearinghouse, but also what we know, FIFA clearinghouse regulations also govern the payment of the training compensations, which for me, in practice, I think is important for agents to understand. So therefore, I feel that it's another regulatory document as a sturdy material is important to focus on. And then finally, FIFA statutes. Again, in the 23 exams, we have seen questions directly coming from FIFA statutes around membership to FIFA bodies, so on and so forth. So therefore, I think it's another important regulatory document that we might see increasing questions. Okay, so this is basically how I anticipate an impact on the distribution of the exam questions based on the FIFA study materials following this reduction on the content of the FIFA for the purposes of the exam. Now, therefore, what might be the strategy? In my view, what is important? So, as candidates, I think it's important that you study the unaffected provisions of the FIFA extremely well. And I outlined this. So from becoming a football agent, those unaffected provisions around representation agreements, unaffected provisions around service fee provisions, representation of minors, and rights and obligations of clients. These are the core regulatory areas that are unaffected. I think study the FIFA RSTP extremely well. Understand every aspect of it, because it's a core regulatory document for the exam. And then study the other materials well. Obviously, study everything well. This has been always my message in these webinars that we have been holding with in collaboration with Johan Cruyff Institute since the exam and FIFA was introduced. So therefore, over the period, we've done a number of those, and I always said it's critical that you study well for the exam. This is a challenging exam. There's a lot of materials to study, but I think to pass it, to success it, the candidates must study these materials and understand them well. So therefore, focus on those other materials as well. And as I said, particularly the safeguarding materials, FIFA guarding materials, FIFA clearinghouse regulations, and FIFA statutes. Okay, so just to wrap up before I start taking questions, how we can help. I can see we've got our number of delegates who joined us today, who is currently studying our training course on the FIFA Football Agent Examination. But knowing that historically the agent exam was coming, and recognizing that the candidates will need support in their preparations, since May 2023, we have been running this training course on the FIFA Football Agent Examination in collaboration with Johan Cruyff Institute. This is a fully online course. So therefore, those candidates, if they are looking for a support with their preparation, they can study this course at their own time, at their own pace, wherever they are in the world. Basically, the course is designed around the study materials, and there are a number of modules where our delegates study those materials in a systematical way, but also it captures my experience of the exam back in April 2023, and I designed a number of videos where I support our delegates in terms of their exam strategy, understanding the exam itself, as well as we've got a number of practice examinations. So, with respect to how you can study, we've got the regulatory e-guides, for instance. We digitalize all of the FIFA regulations, and where our delegates can study them in a systematical way. And what we did with them, basically, through digitalization, I also annotated all of the FIFA regulations. So therefore, when our delegates are studying, they just don't study the regulatory text, but they also access to the explanatory annotations, so that they can engage with the regulatory text fully and understand. Then alongside that, recognizing that Some of the regulatory areas are complex. We have got a number of expert videos that are designed by myself, where literally I explain some of those key areas further. And also we design a number of step-by-step guides, for instance, around how to calculate training compensation, how to calculate solidarity contributions, so on and so forth, so that our delegates can access that expert insight on particularly complex areas of the regulatory materials. Then finally, we have got also, in terms of developing regulatory knowledge and studying these study materials, we've got also knowledge check. So MCQ style knowledge check questions, where basically following studying these materials and the expert videos, our delegates can test their knowledge, and by answering these questions, then they will access to explanations as well. And within that explanations, we point out the key regulatory provision the question is about, as well as the explanation for the right answer. Alongside this, what we did, we also designed mock examinations, but we try to replicate also technical aspects of the FIFA Agent platform. So as you can see, this on in this slide, the top left corner is the original FIFA platform, and the right bottom corner is actually our mock examination. So therefore, the idea here is that we have got mock exams. They are not only, just comes up with questions where we try to replicate the exam style questions, but also you utilize our e-learning technology in order to sort of practice yourself with the aspects of the FIFA Agent platform, such as, for instance, accessing study materials, navigating questions, and for instance, there's an unofficial translator there that you can access to as well, which also FIFA Agent platform has. So therefore, we try to maximize and offer every aspect of the mock examination with these capabilities and aspects in order to offer a real exam experience. Okay, so this is where I am going to stop and start taking some questions. So we have 20 minutes to go, and I can start with, hopefully we have got some questions on the Q&A. The first one was okay. So there was some problems with the voice. Apologies, first of all. Okay. So there were a number of issues with the connection. Sorry, I'm just seeing that. I'm not sure what causing that, but my mic is definitely on. And yeah, I can only apologize for that. First of all, yes, you are gonna have the recording of the video, the webinar. Yes, we are gonna send that to you. Okay, there is one from Tom about actually applying to the exam. Tom, we basically, for the May exam, the deadline has passed now. The deadline to apply was 31st of March 2024. Therefore, you need to now wait for the November 2024 exam, and the application period for that exam will be opened after the May 2024 exam. So if you did not apply, and from your question, my understanding is you did not apply to the May exam, you just need to wait to apply for November exam. Now, in terms of how to apply in Netherlands, actually the application is through the FIFA Football Agent platform. So you need to create your account with the agent platform, then you do the license application internally. With one of our industry partners, Transfer Room, I actually design a mini video to explaining on a step-by-step basis how to apply for the FIFA agent examination. So search for that or email us and we can send you link to this video. Okay. Okay, we've got another one. If FIFA is completely suspended later in the year and marked void by the courts, does that mean you won't require a license to operate? Okay, this is an interesting question. So, what we know, the legal challenges are concerning some of the provisions of the FIFA, hence the global suspension of those provisions, okay? What is basically where there is a general consensus though with respect to the new regulatory regime is, for instance, the need for the exam. Like the agent industry is saying, yeah, the exam is a good thing, and the reintroduction of the licensing requirement is a good thing. And some of those provisions around, for instance, representation of minors, agent industry also is proponent of CPD requirements, ongoing continuous professional development for agents is also welcome. So therefore, for me, I think even FIFA loses the legal challenges, I don't think we are going to see this new regulatory regime or the aspects of these regulatory regime fully disappearing. So therefore, I anticipate that there will be changes to those provisions which the court may deem illegal, and in that case, FIFA is to change them. But I think particularly the licensing system might remain in place. So therefore, I don't anticipate that the exam and licensing will disappear. Will you have a prep with us before May exam? We have got the training course, and this is our only sort of preparatory sport for those candidates who are preparing for the exam. And in the course, I engage with our delegates through our forum as well as via emails, and this is currently the support we are offering. So therefore, we do not anticipate any one-to-one or preparation or support for the May exam. So I'll encourage those to actually look at our training course, and if they require support with preparations, I would encourage them to basically sign up to our training course. Okay, I'm quite relieved because Dezail said I heard everything fine, so I'm relieved in a way. But yeah, I can only apologize for the sound. I'm not sure what's causing it. So there is one from Nicholas, FIFA Guardians. It seems to be a generalized content section in the study materials. Is there any other reading materials we should consult? Actually, I think FIFA Guardians materials are quite substantial and comprehensive, Nicholas. Therefore, I don't think you need to resort to resort to any other materials around safeguarding. But what I would say, and I emphasized this in one of our previous webinars as well, when you are engaging with the safeguarding materials, always think from the agent perspective, okay? So think about the agent responsibilities and how those materials, safeguarding materials, are applicable to the role of the agents. So what agents do in practice, okay? So I think this is quite important because I know some of the materials, like particularly toolkit for member associations. So therefore you need to make sense of that content from the agent perspective. And the questions we have seen on the FIFA Guardians materials are generally around that. They are scenario based, where basically there are number of risks within the scenario, safeguarding risks to the player in general or in a club context, and then the questions about recognizing those risks and what to do. Okay, so pay attention to sort of those aspects when you are studying those materials. But yeah, in summary, I think the FIFA Guardian materials, safeguarding materials, are quite comprehensive, and as long as you study them well, you don't need any other safeguarding material, external safeguarding material to study. Yeah, okay. In terms of recording, don't worry. You will get an email notifying you about the recording, and whenever it's ready and you can review it, you can access it again. Okay. And hopefully the recording would be, in terms of audio in the recording, it's going to be better. Hopefully, I'm hoping. Okay, we've got another one. A somewhat overlooked aspect of the suspension story is what is the legal basis for this suspension in the first place. FIFA Circular 1873 is silent on this point. Does the FIFA statutes provide for this worldwide temporary suspension of a particular set of regulations, in this case the FIFA? If so, was this decision taken on December 2023 in accordance with the FIFA legal framework? If not, would the suspension as such be considered incompatible with the FIFA's own rules? I think this is really a complex question, and I think when I say complex, like making things quite complex for the audience in this case, because we must assume that based on the circular, and the circular makes clear reference to the FIFA authority and FIFA bodies that who made this decision of global partial suspension. So therefore, I'm assuming that FIFA has got within its own regulatory framework, authority, and those bodies of FIFA with authority to actually suspend those regulatory provisions. And I think it's self-explanatory that after all, this is FIFA who made these regulations. So therefore, they must have authority to take such regulatory decision. But regardless of that, this is where we are. I think this is important for the purpose of the exam, because we've got this current global suspension of the FIFA, and under the FIFA study materials, January 2024 edition, FIFA clearly states that the exam will not be based on those suspended provisions or those provisions affected by the FIFA circular. Okay, so I think this is the key thing, key message for you. Can I confirm the exam will stay the same and the materials, but you feel there will be less questions on the contentious part? Yes, I think I outlined that, and I think this is what I covered. So, the exam format hasn't changed. So exam is still 60 minutes, 20 questions, okay? MCQ style questions. That doesn't change. It still needs to be physically taken in a physical space, but through FIFA Agent platform online. So it's still the case. What I try to outline, because now there is now reduced content of the FFAR as a study material for the exam, I think therefore we will likely to see less questions out of that 20 in each exam on FFAR. That's the impact I try to outline, or the implications I try to outline. So therefore, yes. When is the training course start? There is no start date. It's a fully online course. So therefore, you can sign up and start studying anytime. So there is no such start date. Does the training course you guys offer has any cost, or is it free of any charge? It is. There is a fee payable. Yes, it's not free of charge. Why FIFA not sending applicants updated FIFA agent candidates? I'm not sure what this question is referring to. FIFA already saw. Let's know. Perhaps I'm trying to sort of interpret the question. FIFA already published this study materials, January 2024 edition. It's available online. Okay, it's out there. So the candidates know what they need to study. FIFA already has been accepting applications for the May 2024 examination, and the deadline for that was 31st of March 2024. And what I know now, for instance, in England, English FA has notified those candidates who are approved for the exam now, May 2024 exam, about the arrangements of the exam date, as well as the payment of the exam fee. The fees are payable to the member associations, the exam fee, not to FIFA. Those member associations who is charging the exam fee will write to those candidates, okay? So therefore, there has been number of updates on the exam, okay? And I'm interpreting your question as that. So what kind of updates there were from FIFA? But as I said, there have been number of updates. Oh, okay. Sorry, Charles. Then your question, because it come in part. You say with the repealed provisions, why not FIFA sending? Well, I'm assuming therefore FIFA is relying on the study material, and that specific text under the introduction section of the study materials, which clearly states that those provisions suspended will not be examined. So therefore, I interpret it as the key update from FIFA for the exam candidates. But hey, here we are. That's why we are doing this webinar, to bring further clarity and support the candidates. Do you think this suspension will be solved by the end of the year? No, that's why I said I think both exam, and we know there are two exams in 2024, will be impacted. I think November 2024 exam will be likely to be impacted by the suspension as well. What is the status of the legal challenges, perhaps, that particular legal challenge at European level right now? It's just pending. It's just waiting for the review of the European Court. So it's just waiting game at the moment. Okay, is the partial suspension of FFAR affected the whole FFAR regulations or some part of the FFAR regulation? I think, again, I answered this question. There are those provisions that are unaffected, okay? So therefore, there is only partial suspension, hence the term partial. Certain provisions are suspended, but certain provisions are already in force. Okay, we've got this. Why can an amateur player become a football agent but not an amateur coach? This has been an interesting one. And Nicholas, I know this has been on the forum as well. Let's take up this question, if it's okay, on our forum rather than here. I think we need to deep down into this to explain and critique why is that. Okay. I think we are on time now. I hope this is useful. Okay, we are gonna make the recording available, so please keep an eye on our emails. I'm gonna notify our existing delegates on the training course with the availability of the recording. Accept my apologies for the sound, and what is important for me to sum up: keep studying, keep preparing yourself for the exam. As I said, it is a challenging exam, okay? I know there is a lot of material to study, but I think without studying, it's extremely hard to succeed in this exam. So therefore, my only and big key message is always keep studying, prepare yourself through studying the study materials, okay? And get in touch with us if you've got any questions on the training course. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining me.